Let's take a look at this flexible budgeting problem. It's exercise 10-8. As sales manager, Terry DeWitt was given the following static budget report for selling expenses in the clothing department of Gober Company for the month of October. Okay, and you see on the screen, he had a budget of $8,000. His actual sales were $10,000, so he was favorable by $2,000. Now, in terms of variable cost, based on the budget, he was expected to spend $8,000. He spent $8,750, so that's $750 unfavorable to his budget. At fixed expense, of course, there was no variance because all of those were fixed costs. They didn't change in relation to what happened during the month of October. So his total expenses went from $12,000 to $12,750, and it was unfavorable. And Terry was called into the president's office, congratulated on his fine sales performance, but he was reprimanded for allowing his costs to get out of control. Terry knew something was wrong with the performance report that he'd been given. However, he wasn't sure what to do, and that's where we come into play. So on Part A, we're asked to prepare a budget report based on a flexible budget data. And then on Part B, we're going to determine if Terry should have been reprimanded. All right, well, based on the budget, we can figure out what those variable costs should have been per unit. For instance, sales commission, 2,000 divided by 8,000 looks like 25 cents per unit. Advertising expense, 800 divided by 8,000 is 10 cents per unit. Travel expense, 3,600 divided by 8,000. That's a little hard to do in your head. It should come out to be about 45 cents, I think, per unit. Free samples given out, 1,600 divided by 8,000. Well, 1,600 goes into 80. I got to get that right. It's 20. Wait, is it 20 cents per unit? And then the other ones we really don't need to do on a per unit basis. Okay, what I'm going to do now is move over and show you the solution based on a flexible budget. I'm just going to put it right on top of our screen, and I think we'll be able to follow it. Keep in mind that with a flexible budget, we're going to restate the budget to allow for what the actual level of activity was. So if we calculated variable cost on a per unit as being in the as example, in the case of sales commission, 25 cents, and advertising expense was 10 cents, and travel was about 45 cents, and so forth, then we should be able to multiply those costs per units times the number of units that we actually achieved. So multiply all of those times 10,000, and we can come up with a flexible budget. Then we can compare that to the actual results and see how we did. All right, let me slide this over now. I'll try to line this up somewhere we can see it clearly. Okay, so now you see the solution on the screen, and you see we calculated those rates before. We multiply them times 10,000 units, we come up with the budget dollars. And what do we see? Well, we see that certainly variable expenses at this level are more in line. In fact, the budget called for 10,000 to be spent, and Terry spent $8,750 with a $1,250 favorable variance. So at this level of activity, he actually was $1,250 favorable. So to answer Part B, should Terry have been reprimanded? No, his performance was very good.